Mbuemo saying yes to Manchester United, Bruno saying no to Saudi Arabia, Jadon Sancho returning to the club, plus updates on many other Manchester United targets. This is the transfer news. Yes, guys, it's been an incredibly busy 24 hours for the club, I cannot lie. And so today I want to run through everything because there's been so much going on. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, I do a thread every day where I kind of like get all the news together all in one place so that if you've missed anything, there it is. So let's get to it. Starting with the freedom fighter himself, really, Jadon Sancho. So last night it came out that there was big trouble between Sancho's camp and Chelsea's. They couldn't agree on a salary. Chelsea demanded that he took a wage cut, quite rightfully by the way, but Sancho's representatives wouldn't go lower than £200,000 a week. Bear in mind, that's what we've just given Matheus Cunha after his best Premier League season, and then you got Sancho out here scoring 3 goals in 31 Premier League games, asking for 200k plus. Make it make sense. And so it is no surprise that Chelsea are paying the £5 million penalty fee to send him back to us and make him our problem. This worries me, I can't lie. I know a lot of people could look at this as a silver lining and say, hey, it's a free 5 mil, right? We can sell him on for 25 to somewhere else. Happy days. In total, we get 30 million. I don't think that's going to happen. If he was valued at 25 million pounds before in the obligation, I think that's going to come down anyway. Probably to about 20. And then any other clubs that are interested in him, if he's demanding such a high wage, they're going to want the transfer fee coming down even more. And then they're also going to argue, well, you've already got 5 million of it from Chelsea. So then that 25 million probably comes down to 20 because of his poor season. Then that probably comes down to 15 because of his high wages. And then that probably comes down to 10 because Chelsea have already paid 5. At this point, I think we're more than likely to just sell Sancho for free. I think we're just going to get rid of him, cut our losses like we did with the likes of Sanchez. Alternatively, he's just going to go on loan again. Whatever the outcome, I don't think there's a positive for us here. And so I think I've got to ask, is Sancho the worst signing in Premier League history? Total disaster. Send him to Saudi. Talking of which, where does he go next? Well, David Ornstein has said that he will not be playing at the Club World Cup for Chelsea this season, despite his contract not being over until the end of June. He's instead going to use June to find himself a new club. Now, apparently, like I said, according to Ornstein, there's interest from England and Europe. But if Chelsea aren't going to match his wages, I'm telling you now, no other club is going to. Because who are his options in England? Who is his options? I'm baffled by this. Villa can't afford him. Newcastle can't afford him. Everton, maybe? He's not going to go Everton. Forest? Maybe. His ego is incredible. Now, according to Ben Jacobs, who I must admit, I want to give hats off to him. He's been absolutely fantastic this summer. He said that there's interest from Saudi, and that has to be the only place he's going to be able to go to get those incredibly high wages. Now, I want to quickly mention Liam Delap. I know he's gone Chelsea and all that stuff, but it's come out why he chose them over us, and it could be seen as a bit of a red flag. So we had doubts over joining United because of the squad, position in the league, which is understandable, but then also uncertainty surrounding Ruben Amorim's future. Now, this comes from Andy Mitten on the Talk of the Devils podcast, and he said that the manager constantly talking and then backtracking about, oh, I'll leave the club. No, I don't want to leave the club. All this stuff kind of rubbed off on Delap, and he was worried that Amorim in 6 months' time is just not going to be there. So I'll be interested to see if any other players consider that. One player that doesn't, though, is, of course, Bryan Mbeumo. Oh, yes. You guys on the channel will know that I have been so excited at the prospect of signing this guy, and I cannot believe he's joined us. I was convinced that he'd be going to Newcastle to play up front alongside Gordon and Isak, but somehow the We Are Man United pull has won yet again. So with him now saying yes and us agreeing to personal terms, the talks between the clubs is now ready to begin. So Ben Jacobs said that a formal bid from United is expected soon, with Brentford seeking around 50 million quid. But that has since gone up in the last 12 hours. There's now been reports of Brentford wanting about 60. Basically, United have to match what they paid for Cunha for Mbuemo, which I get it. And so I don't think this one's going to be super quick. I think it's going to drag on to next week at the very earliest. And probably the two clubs will strike a deal for about 50 million plus add-ons, I would imagine, to then take it up to what Cunha is worth. Either way, having Cunha and Mbuemo in those number 10s has quite genuinely transformed our attack already, and we've not even got a number 9 yet. Talking of which, wowee, what a whirlwind we've had with the number 9s in the last 24 hours, eh? Let's start with Højlund. So Fabrizio Romano said that Inter have made contact with Højlund's camp in the recent days, and talks for a potential move have begun. However, other sources have also said that a loan is the only realistic option that Inter want to present to the table. United are open to selling, of course, however, Højlund is keen on staying at Man United. I think someone should tell him that we're not too keen on him staying. Unfortunately, I think Højlund's going to be a bit of a Sancho situation. I think at best we're going to loan him. I don't think anyone's going to buy him, unfortunately, as much as I would love for that to happen. Obviously, there was talks of the Højlund-Osimhen swap, but they've gone really quiet. I said in the video where we covered that rumour that I think Matt Hargreaves going to Naples was probably more to talk about Garnacho than actually was Osimhen, and I think that's looking more and more the case. But who do we even bring in at number 9? I hear you ask. Well, how does Alexander Mitrović sound? So apparently he's available for around 40 million quid and is prepared to take a pay cut to leave Saudi. First of all, just what? I was baffled when this rumour came out. So like I said, Ben Jacobs has been pretty reliable, especially for Saudi sources. But when I saw Mitrovic's name linked with United, it just felt so against everything INEOS has been standing for. It's no secret that INEOS want young talent at a good price that have potential resale value in the future. It's basically Chelsea's model. Mitrović is 30. Yeah, he scores goals in Saudi Arabia, but I don't know what that translates to. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's not really been a transfer coming in from Saudi to the Prem yet. Only the other way. So 70 odd goals in Saudi Arabia, we don't know how to quantify that in Premier League terms. Obviously, he's been good in the Premier League, but like I said, he's 30 now. And £40 million? Absolutely ridiculous, was never going to happen. And quite thankfully, his camp have apparently played down the rumours to United. But what about Gonçalo Ramos? Well, he's unwanted at PSG and looks like he's going to be moving on this summer, be it a permanent move or a loan. And according to Graham Bailey, they've been shipping him around, with United being one of the clubs. So we've been offered the chance to sign him, but I don't think it'll happen. At best, it'll be a loan. I don't see this one happening. Mateta, though. I really like Mateta. I really want Mateta. And there's talks right now that Crystal Palace might get kicked out of the Europa League because of multi-club ownership. Basically, Lyon, who are also in the Europa League, the guy who has an 88% share in them also has a 40-odd% share in Palace. It's basically the Nice and United thing all over again with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And so if they miss out on Europa League for unfortunate reasons, I will be really sad for them, I'll be honest. That must be absolutely gutting. But if they don't have Europe, it makes us luring Mateta even easier. I don't think we would have had a problem agreeing personal terms with Mateta, but having no Europe would just make it even easier. And so according to Team Talk, I'll be honest, this source, I have no idea really. But they're saying with just 2 years left in his contract, they'd be open to selling him for 25-30 million. Listen, if there's even a shred of truth to that, even 40 million I think would be a good deal for Mateta. You go and do it. Because despite Gyokeres wanting to sign with someone in England, according to Record in Portugal, there are some solid links with him going to Atletico Madrid, and he probably would cook there. Thus, I think Mateta is the best we can do. That being said, according to Laurie Whitwell, there are alternatives to Gyokeres up front, despite him being the dream signing for Ruben Amorim, including Antonio Semenyo. There's been links there already, so clearly there's something going on with that deal. However, Victor Osimhen's name's also been mentioned. His wages, of course, have been a problem, and if Sancho does stay, that's going to make it even more difficult to pay the wages that Osimhen desires, because he's going to be sticking around and he's realistically on the wage that Osimhen wants. That being said, with us missing out on Delap and maybe missing out on Gyokeres now, the club could be open to re-evaluating the Osimhen deal. We'll have to see what happens there. Now, I want to talk about Franco Mastantuono next, someone that I know a lot of fans are really interested in, incredible young prospect from River Plate in Argentina, and someone that we have been heavily linked to. Again, he suits that INEOS model. He's young, he's at a decent price, he's ready to explode onto the next level. He ticks all the boxes. However, as we saw with the likes of Lenny Yoro, when you've got a youngster who is considered to be a generational talent like him or Mastantuono, you face a lot of competition, and nothing's changed there. Apparently he's keen to join PSG, and can you blame him? PSG are going through a fantastic rebuild that has resulted in the Champions League. That must be a very exciting project to any player right now. That being said, Atletico, Barcelona, and of course Real Madrid are also sniffing around him, and so realistically we're probably at the bottom of the pecking order, and I think the club know that, as it's been said by Ben Jacobs that we're just keeping an eye on the situation. I don't expect this move to happen. I think he's going to be a great player. It'll be exciting to see wherever he goes. Whilst we're on the topic of midfielders though, it's time to finally talk about Bruno. Oh, I can't believe this guy stayed. I had kind of began to come to terms with the fact that he was gone. And listen, I understand the arguments for him going. I know a lot of fans saying that we should sell. I'm personally not one, but I saw the positives in it, right? You get 100 million plus for a 30-year-old. It's the kind of fee that we're probably never going to get for another one of our players, at least anytime soon, and it would have allowed us to reinvest greatly. Now, I know a lot of fans, on the other hand, say that they don't trust INEOS to reinvest that money wisely. I personally haven't found INEOS's transfers to be that bad. That being said, I can't help but remember that Cristiano Ronaldo money coming in, that 80 million, and spending it on Antonio Valencia, Gabby Obertan, and Michael Owen. Ugh. And so I'm very glad he stayed. Plus, I think, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, I think Bruno's a legend. I've even spoken with my dad about it, who obviously grew up watching the likes of George Best, and even he thinks he's a legend, and his standards are a lot higher than mine. I'm over the moon with Bruno staying. I hope to God that this motivates the rest of the team to run that bit further, to run that bit faster for him, because this guy deserves more than any other player that we've had post-Fergie to win something substantial. Bruno, I hope you don't later regret this. Also, statue of his wife outside Old Trafford when? She's apparently one of the major reasons why he said no, on top of Bruno apparently preferring to stay in Europe anyway. Now, a lot of fans have said that, well, he said he's open to staying in Europe. Does that mean he could still move? And I guess theoretically, yeah. I think if Real Madrid came in with 80 million, he probably would say yes to that. And if that happened, I think the club would. But that's by the by. That's not happened. That's not happening. Bruno is staying, and that's all that matters. Something I found quite interesting, which came out from Graham Bailey as well today, was Sancho-Kudus to Man United. Apparently, there had been talks there about a swap deal between West Ham and us for Kudus and Sancho. Now, apparently Sancho was open to the idea of joining West Ham. Kudus was open to joining us. However, West Ham's management had doubts over how Sancho fit into the system, and so talks broke down, which is a shame. Right, let's just wrap up the last bit of news now, shall we? According to The Athletic, the sell-on clause that United had inserted into Alvaro Fernandez's contract is worth about 20% of any fee over 5 million, not the 40 or 50% we all wished and thought that it was. This means that the money we're going to get from the Fernandes to Real Madrid deal isn't going to quite be as big as we all hoped. Last but not least, according to Laurie Whitwell, Ruben Amorim still wants to strengthen United's number 8 position as well as wing-backs. Now, Ederson in midfield is obviously someone that we've been linked to. However, he's now Al Hilal's priority as an alternative to Bruno Fernandes. Apparently even more so now that Inzaghi looks like he's going to be going there. The question is though, who do we get? Obviously now that Bruno's staying, he's going to be one of those number 8s. Who's the other one? He apparently wants someone quite mobile, quite athletic. I made a video yesterday about who I would quite like to see partner that whoever that was going to be in midfield, obviously it now being Bruno. I want more of a defensive destroyer, basically a younger Casemiro, a Casemiro regen. And so if you're interested in who I scouted to be that guy, you can click this video on your screen right now.